are you awake?
I peed the bed a little.
You pissed in the sheets?
Yeah.
Like, just now?
No, it was like a few minutes ago, you know. But it's like, what the?
Oh, hey there. You're probably wondering why I'm watching that video of Kermit the Frog there, that little animated video there. We're talking about Jordan Peterson. Yeah, he still exists. I know you guys probably haven't thought about him in a very, very long time, considering I think he almost died. I think his daughter nearly killed him. Like, his daughter had him go on an all-meat diet, like an all-red meat diet in Russia or some shit, and he almost died. And he was gone from the internet for a while, but apparently he returned recently, and he's coping pretty hard on Twitter. And we're gonna go ahead and get into why here. So, this is how it started. So, contributors to The Atlantic, like Ta-Nehisi Coates, are moving on to comics. So, someone named Ta-Nehisi Coates, who is evidently a progressive and is apparently a contributor to The Atlantic, is a writer for Marvel now. And they wrote a new Captain America comic, I assume. Red Skull is a Captain America villain, in which Red Skull has taken to the internet to radicalize people into Hydra and the far right. For those of you guys that don't know, I'll give us a short Marvel lesson here. Red Skull is a Captain America villain. Captain America's story, basically he was a scrawny little fuck who got given super soldier serum so that he could fight Nazis during World War II. He got frozen during a plane crash, got thawed out in the present, and now it stopped him from aging all that much. So now he's in the present, 70 years later, fighting Hydra, which is, like this offshoot of the Nazi military, which is sort of, wiggle its way into the government and a bunch of other institutions in the present. And that's one of his main villains. The Red Skull is basically this Nazi leader. That is one of his biggest villains. So he's just a Nazi. Red Skull is a Nazi, like an actual Nazi. Like he was in the Fourth Reich. He was a Nazi scientist. So, with that said, in this new run, or this new comic of Captain America, we see the Red Skull on the internet, and he's advertising 10 rules for life. Does that sound familiar to you guys? Anybody maybe might have heard something like that somewhere before? The fourth? I said Fourth Reich? I apologize. Third Reich. Sorry, there's a group on 2B2T called the Fourth Reich. So I get mixed up sometimes. So for those of you guys that don't know, 12 Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson is a best-selling book. It's a self-help book, also a bit of a political book as well, written by Jordan Peterson, from an obviously pretty right-leaning perspective. And you can see some pretty common talking points here. Chaos and Order, Carl Lueger's genius? Don't know this one. The Feminist Trap? Where have I heard talking points like that before? So it's pretty clear here that the comic artist is evoking the sort of is trying to evoke a intellectual dark web sort of Jordan Peterson-esque or just like anti-SJW-esque depiction of Red Skull here, sort of a modernized version of Red Skull. And I gotta say, pretty damn realistic. If Red Skull was real and he was around in the present, you better fucking believe he would be on the internet radicalizing people online with talking points like this. Because guess what? The type of people that are that are sort of, what's the word for it, receptive to right-wing propaganda are the exact type of people that Red Skull wants to induct into Hydra. So Jordan Peterson saw this and quote tweeted it and said, "What the hell?" He quote tweeted another tweet saying, "Is this from the same issue as my previous tweet?" Apparently there's more here. Here's some panels from apparently the same comic. We got Captain America talking to somebody here. Yeah, he did. It's the same for all of them. Young men, weak, looking for purpose. I found the flag. You found the badge. They found the skull. He tells them what they've always longed to hear, that they're secretly great, that the whole world is against them, that if they're truly men, they'll fight back. And bingo, that's their purpose. That's what they live for. And that's what they'll die for. Could not have said it better myself. This is exactly this is the exact group and the exact rhetoric that reactionaries use to bring people in. In fact, if you want to see this, you can literally just look at the manifesto for any right-wing mass shooter the last few years. The Great Replacement Manifesto, the Dayton shooting the El Paso shooting manifesto. Every single right-wing reactionary manifesto makes it very, very clear what kind of people these are. Very weak people, usually weak young men, looking for purpose, and fascism appeals to them. And while I don't think Jordan Peterson is a Nazi, I genuinely believe that Jordan Peterson is probably not a Nazi. Jordan Peterson is the beginning of the rabbit hole for a lot of people. He is. Whether you like it or not, these types of people are perfect for fascism to pull in. People who want meaning, because fascism gives them meaning. It's action for action's sake. The idea that the reason why they're in such a point in their lives is because there's a reason for it, right? There's got to be a reason for it, you know? Do I really live in a universe where Ta-Nehisi Coates has written a Captain America comic featuring a parody of my ideas as part of the philosophy of the arch-villain Red Skull? So, this should go without saying. I actually don't think Ta-Nehisi Coates is specifically trying to depict Jordan Peterson in Red Skull. I actually don't think the artist's intention was to say Jordan Peterson is a Nazi. I actually don't think that's the intention there. What this seems to be going for, at least that's the impression I'm getting, is that the depiction of Red Skull here is supposed to be reminiscent of an online right-wing content creator utilizing the talking points and the propaganda dissemination methods that Jordan Peterson uses, among other. It's Ta-Nehisi, not Ta-Nehisi. I apologize. Or I don't know. Ta-Nehisi. Okay, Ta-Nehisi Coates. It seems to be sort of like a combination of like everyone from like Jordan Peterson to Sargon of Akkad to Milo Yiannopoulos to Nick Fuentes, right? It's a mix of all these people, these like online intellectual dark web type figures, right? Obviously, we have the 10 rules for life thing here, which is a pretty, overt reference to Jordan Peterson, but I don't think it's just supposed to be Jordan Peterson. I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks that Jordan Peterson himself is a Nazi, though he does sort of enable fascism. So you can go through it more. Oh yeah, here's like a cringy comic that someone made back in the day of like Jordan Peterson fighting Antifa, which is actually kind of ironic because if you're against anti-fascist, what's that make you? It's not good for the optics there. I miss this Captain America. Doesn't matter what the press says, doesn't matter what the politicians or the mob say, doesn't matter if the whole country decides that something is wrong. Something wrong is something right. This nation was founded on the principle of all else, the requirement that we stand up for what we believe, no matter what the odds or the consequences. When the mob and the press and the whole world tell you to move, your job is to plant yourself like a tree beside the river of truth and tell the whole world, no, you move. Holy shit. Wait, does this right-winger actually think that this is Captain America, like, agreeing with them? Hold on, Wait, are they not aware of the history of Captain America? This is the cover of the very first Captain America comic, by the way. It's Cap punching Hitler in the face, Smashing through, Captain America came face to face with Hitler. 45 thrilling pages of Captain America, Sentinel of Our Shores, plus other great features. So, the idea of Captain America is that he's meant to embody everything that America stands for principally, like the values of America, like freedom of speech, liberty, justice, and so on. He doesn't stand for the government. He fights for its people and for its ideals, or what he believes to be its ideals. There are many points in Captain America comics throughout all of its history that where like Captain America was fighting against the right wing. That's always been his thing. I also want to point out that the first issue of Captain America came out before World War II. Before Hitler was America's enemy. Before it was like socially acceptable to hate the Nazis in America. It was actually like a controversial thing to have Captain America like punching Hitler in the face on that title. There was outrage sparked about it. But as you can imagine, he's been coping about it like constantly, like literally like 100 tweets a day over it. Don't compare yourself with other people. Compare yourself with who you were yesterday. No one gets away with anything ever, so take responsibility for your own life. So then they're just putting, like, it's memes where they put, like, Jordan Peterson quotes over Red Skull. Don't lie about anything, ever. Lying leads to hell. It's very hard to find your own words, and you don't actually exist until you have your own words. So I actually think it's funny that by taking Jordan Peterson's most agreeable quotes and then putting them over Red Skull, kind of, whether they realize it or not, kind of makes Red Skull seem like a good guy, even though he's a literal Nazi. So it kind of proves the point that a broken clock is right twice a day. Someone can be like a piece of shit reactionary and still have a few decent positions. So basically, you can just scroll through and see, like, he's coping about it. He's big mad. He's very big mad. We have the Lobster Hydra, Hail Lobster. Yeah. It keeps going, chat. Keeps going for a while. Keeps going. God, this man is terminally online. Look how often he's on Twitter. I don't even tweet this much, and my job is to be on the internet. Granted, he may be stuck in bed after his daughter nearly killed him with that all-meat diet. Listen, I don't think Jordan Peterson's a Nazi. Jordan Peterson's obviously not comparable to the fucking Red Skull. However, Jordan Peterson... For many people who've fallen down the alt-right rabbit hole and gotten into full-on fascism, many of them have cited Jordan Peterson as the start, if not a stepping stone, of their descent into fascism. And this is because Jordan Peterson himself, his content focuses on the idea of self-help. He does a lot of self-help content, which is meant to appeal to almost exclusively to young men who are in a pretty bad place in their lives. And while some of his self-help stuff isn't too bad, it is what he is, a specialist in. He does have his conservative bias, which typically moves people in a more conservative direction. And even if it doesn't, they're more likely to check out more of his stuff. And that's how you find his political stuff. That's when you find out the postmodern neo-Marxists and the feminists and the leftist indoctrination machine is trying to pull people to the left and take away your freedom of speech. And that's basically where it starts you, if not propels you further to the right. So I think the idea of this new version of Red Skull is a realistic depiction of a fascist villain using modern-day technology and modern-day recruitment techniques to pull people into fascism by targeting those that are most susceptible to it, which is disenfranchised young men. Disenfranchised young white men. And I think it's actually really cool. It actually reminds me of, I can't show it on stream because I get copyrighted. Hypers, if you've seen the the after credits scene of Spider-Man Far From Home. If you have, you probably know J.K. Simmons reprised his role as J. Jonah Jameson, who is a classic Spider-Man, maybe not antagonist, we'll say not villain, but antagonist, who is obsessed with trying to destroy Spider-Man because he believes he's like a menace to society. And he's like the publisher of a newspaper, right? He's like the lead, he's like the boss of like a news thing, like a newspaper thing. But they brought him into the MCU, but it doesn't really make sense in 2020 or in modern day for him to be like the head of like also he's Spider-Man's boss, but he doesn't know Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Spoiler, by the way, Peter Parker is Spider-Man. Though he does now in the new continuity in the MCU. Obviously, it wouldn't make sense for him to be like a newspaper guy in the MCU in modern day. So instead, they make him basically Alex Jones. Like, I'm not kidding. Hold on. I'm going to show it anyway because I want to make it very clear. Far From Home J. Jonah Jameson scene. Come on, YouTube. Be nice to me, all right? I'm only going to show the scene that's relevant, okay? I think this is it. Don't fuck me over.
Attack in London. An anonymous source, aka Mysterio, moments before.
No copyright. No copyright. Come on.
Find this video disturbing.
I managed to
Come on. Don't copyright me.
weaponized drone, Stark Technology. He's saying he's the only one who's gonna.
That's the drone attack.
There you have it, folks. Conclusive.
Today, on the controversial news website, thedailybugle.net.
There you have it, folks. Conclusive proof that Spider-Man was responsible for the brutal murder of Mysterio, an interdimensional warrior who gave his life to protect our planet and who will no doubt go down in history as the greatest superhero of all time.
You can't tell me this isn't supposed to be Alex Jones. It's fucking perfect. It's an absolute perfect comparison. It is absolutely perfect. The idea that somebody like J. Jonah Jameson nowadays would be an online figure like Alex Jones, who's a literal, like even in the past, he was a, with the newspaper thing, he was a fearmonger about Spider-Man, who did clickbait essentially with the Daily Bugle. It's perfect that the Daily Bugle would essentially nowadays be InfoWars. It's the perfect comparison. The same. It's very clearly Alex Jones. It's like, look at it. It's very clearly supposed to be Alex Jones. And it reminds me a lot of that. There's a lot of comparisons that you can draw, and it's a realistic depiction of how these figures would be nowadays. Because I shouldn't have to say this, but the right, conservatives, are on the wrong side of history. They are the bad guys. They're the bad guys of politics. So it makes sense that classic villains from comics and other types of media would share a lot of similarities with real-life bad people, with the real-life bad guys. And I think it's really funny that now this is being pointed out and represented a lot more, that they're getting extremely upset about it. It really tickles my pickle, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on it. Subscribe and ring the bell icon if you haven't already and you want to see more from me. Make sure you got to ring the bell icon. It's important. The bell icon is what makes all the difference in the world. It's how you actually get notified when I go live or upload a video. YouTube usually doesn't tell you if you don't ring the bell icon. So do that. Do that shit right now if you haven't already. You can also follow me on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and join my fan Discord. The link's in the description, of course, as well as if you want to support me financially, which I really do appreciate. You can support me on the website, xanderhall.com/live, by gifting subscriptions or subscribing yourself, or donating. Or if you want to support me financially on YouTube, you can do so by super chatting or hitting the join button to become a channel member. I really do appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a damn good one.